According to various regional analysts, Botswana has emerged as the best new market for global retail in sub-Saharan Africa. The retail sector was expected to witness modest growth and increased competition in 2014. The sector has grown at a phenomenal rate over the years, with the most attractive sectors being clothing, accessories, food and drink, home and kitchen appliances. More growth and more competition in the retail sector is expected to continue. The growth in this sector has been attributed to Botswana's economic growth in the last 15 years, rising disposable incomes, stable political environment, and a friendly business environment. Retail is reported to be the second largest provider of jobs after government and the third largest sector in the entire economy. This has attracted attention from big foreign retailers who see Botswana's stability as a good fit for their business models and strategies. South African giant stores operate here and have scores of stores. Currently, about 30,000 customers are reported to come through the doors of several retail stores in Gaborone, looking for one thing and one thing only: value for money. Despite the possibility of saturation, investors continue to be very confident about the future. Last week, Turnstar Holdings, owners of Game City Shopping Centre, held a groundbreaking ceremony for a 250 million pula Phase 4 expansion phase financed by Rand Merchant Bank, Botswana. According to Turnstar Holdings, once Phase 4 is completed, Game City will be the biggest shopping complex in Botswana, offering a world-class shopping experience. A 250 million pula investment made possible through the assistance of RMB Botswana. Tonight we are hosting the Managing Director of Turnstar Holdings, Gulam Abdullah, Head of RMB Botswana, Pauline Motswagaye, among others, to try to understand where they get their confidence in the market. Welcome back to First Issues, as we try to understand the notable confidence in consumer spending as evidenced by the continued investment and development of shopping malls. The Managing Director of Turnstar Holdings, which owns Game City, tells us where they get the confidence to make a 35,000 square foot expansion and a multi-million pula revamp to their mall in an environment where consumers are still feeling the pinch in a recovering global economy and there is increased market competition, if not saturation.
Look, we have some major other malls in town. We have the Riverwalk Mall, Airport Junction, etc. that has come up. But if you bear in mind, Game City was the first original mall, if I may call it, to come up into the city. The center is now 12 years old after opening, and as you can see, there was time now for a revamp, because every so often, every 10 to 15 years, you redo the mall in order to give it a facelift or to boost things, in order to keep up with customer expectations and to position yourself as the leader, not a competitor, the leader in the retail market as far as shopping malls go. But also, it's not a matter of confidence, it's also a matter of demand. We've had demand for more space. So it's not a speculative development that we're doing here. The space that we are adding on is for prospective tenants. Some of them want additional space, then of course there's a lot of new stores that are coming about. But also, when we did some analysis as to the market, we noticed that in the evenings Game City goes a bit quiet because of the offering of restaurants, etc., which the other malls seem to attract the nighttime traffic a lot more than we do. We want to change that totally and entirely, whereby the new offering that we are doing as far as restaurants goes, we've got a kiddies five-a-side soccer field, a proper one coming up, because we also notice there's a gap in the market where teenagers per se, or scholars, secondary school, there isn't a place to go to in town where you can go and have some clean fun. Go have a meal, go to a movie or play soccer or do something. So we're trying to create that as well and achieve that. So it will be a family destination. The only thing I can tell you is that it's difficult to describe what we're doing, but it's something fantastic and the public needs to see it.
Clearly, this move is indicative of a broader repositioning strategy. Our guest tells us more about their long-term plans for Game City Shopping Complex.
Where we are sitting right now, way behind where you are sitting, there's a 3-level parkade coming, which will be an additional 400 cars of parking space for convenience. From the parkade, there'll be direct access into the malls, right? Then there's 8,000 square meters of what we call a fashion avenue, which will be high brand stock and high, for the discerning customer, where it's a different shopping experience. So it's a section of the mall. Then at the top, on the second level, we're creating the new food courts overlooking Khale View, the hill, as well as putting a 5-a-side soccer pitch, which will create a lot of excitement and entertainment. So that's the new section. Then the existing section is we are retiling the entire mall inside, redoing the ceilings, the fascias, the shop fronts, to give the entire thing a facelift. Because it's a bit tired now. You have to spend some money because it's difficult to keep a customer today. So you have to be on your feet, and we need to do this for our tenants.
Abdul Rauf Abdullah of Abdullah Associates, the contracted project manager in this venture, substantiates this, giving an idea of the amount of traffic that passes through this particular mall daily.
I think you get over 3,000 shoppers a day going through the doors. Christmas peak, it goes up, and obviously it drops down to about 2,000.
Delivery of this project in time and within budget is paramount for Turnstar Holdings. And the project manager for this expansion scheme adds another important measure to be considered in the achievement of these goals.
There's a third aspect as well, which we need to cover. It's not only time and budget, there's the quality. Okay, we've got to balance those 3 spheres of project management. There are obviously controls that you put in place, QC plans, QA plans, regular meetings where we appraise the project, track it against those objectives to see that we are on time, we're going to be within budget, and to the correct quality.
Development comes with experience, which we have. We have a lot of development experience since the time we developed Game City. But the key factors is to choose a good consulting team, number one, who understand how important it is that retail projects are done on time and within budget, especially since you are dealing with tenants. Number 2 is to try and identify, it's a process that you go through, a contractor that can understand and meet that requirement. And the main thing is to ensure time and budget is the monitoring, ongoing monitoring. But of course you have site meetings every 2 weeks. So you're on track all the time. If you're falling a bit behind on one area, you know where to catch up. If you're over budget, you know where to pull it back. It's constant monitoring.
I think we need to look at 2 aspects. Number 1 is your planning before the project takes off. More often than not, we get the budget wrong. You'll be given a budget, you'll be told to build a project for this budget, and you find out that it's not enough. Not that the project is overspent, but the initial allocation was wrong. So let's do the groundwork first. Let's get those numbers right. The time, the budget. The second aspect is obviously during implementation. Project management is not having a meeting once a month. It is continuously attending to your project. So if you have projects that are way often rural areas or large infrastructure projects which take up a vast area, you need to be properly resourced to monitor and track those projects.
Exactly how big a project is the expansion under discussion?
This project actually started back in 2001 when we did phase 1. We're now sitting in 2014 and we're doing phase 4. In total, we're going to have over 70,000 square meters of shopping space. Okay, that's the biggest in Botswana and certainly competes with some South African shopping malls. I don't have the figures on employment because that's not really part of my scope, but I am estimating there'd be at least 3,000 to 4,000 people employed permanently by the shopping center. The area of the site is, it's going to be around 35,000 squares, the site itself. So it's a large project by any standard.
Turnstar Holdings were nothing if not happy with their partnership with RMB Botswana, according to comments made at the groundbreaking ceremony of the Game City expansion project.
This is about the fourth time now that Game City is undergoing an expansion, but this time it's totally different. We're not only expanding the center, we're also revamping or remodeling the entire center to ensure that we take it to a level that for the next 10 to 15 years it remains the mall in Botswana without a doubt. When Game City was first conceived around the year 2000, it still was not a Turnstar project. It was a GH Group project. But even at that time, First National Bank was involved in the funding. When Turnstar took over and we extended the center, First National Bank was there again with the funding. Of course, we have now the big brother, Rand Merchant Bank. When a listed company is looking for funding for a project, it's very different to a straightforward 10-year vanilla loan where you just work out the loan repayments, etc., etc. A listed company, we have to consider how the loan is going to sit on the balance sheet. When we are a variable loan stock company, we have to take into account how the loan repayments will affect the taxation of the company. We have to take into account shareholder expectations. We have to take into account all the analysts who watch us on a daily basis, how they monitor this. So with Rand Merchant Bank, we managed to sit down and tailor-make the funding to suit us. And this, in my opinion, is what I call partnership banking, and we're very grateful that they came to the party and gave us the facility the way we wanted it.
We turn to the head of RMB, Pauline, to explain what Mr. Abdullah means when referring to a tailor-made loan.
RMB Botswana is an investment banking arm of First National Bank of Botswana. Therefore, as an investment bank and also in line with RMB philosophy of traditional values, innovative ideas, we adapt solutions to clients. Every client is different. We don't paint clients with the same brush. As you are aware, Turnstar is a listed entity. Therefore, we'll treat it differently from another developer who might not be listed. And also, we engage with the client to understand their vision and their strategy going forward, so that what we do now with the clients actually aligns, to the growth strategies of the client going forward.
RMB Botswana may be just a year old, but parent company Rand Merchant Bank is recognized as a notable player in the infrastructure and project finance sectors, having closed a number of deals and landmark projects in over 15 African countries. What does this institution's extensive pool of investment banking talent, as well as fixed income, currency and commodities experts, make of the local landscape in terms of the execution of its mandate?
RMB Botswana was mandated as a sole funder for this project, the 250 million. So sole mandated just meaning we were the only ones in this transaction. So fully involved from end to end, from structuring the transaction to executing the transaction with the client.
Both Mr. Abdullah and the head of the financier of this expansion project, RMB Botswana, Pauline Motswagae, gave us insight in what it takes to finance such an undertaking.
The funding was easy for Turnstar Holdings. To be honest with you, Turnstar Holdings is a very strong company with a very strong balance sheet. We are not overgeared, so there is room to borrow. And of course, you get another sense of comfort when a bank like RMB as well does their own due diligence on the numbers. You do yours, and you are always optimistic, but then they are independent. They won't just borrow you funds unless they themselves are entirely satisfied that it's a workable project. And they did their due diligence, they did their numbers, and they were very happy to come up with the funding. But we've always been with RMB since the inception of Game City. They've always partnered with us on Game City throughout the various projects. So it was a fairly easy deal to put together. They understood our requirements, we understood their concerns, and eventually both teams managed to put it together.
A lot goes behind this. I mean, we've been working, with this on these transactions for a very long time. Some of the transactions can take 1 year, some 2 years, so that long. Because, as I said, to understand, the strategy of the client going forward, it's not a simple task. And also, we get a team of people, from multidisciplinary facets. You'll get teams from real estate, you get even engineers, you'll get legal people. So it is a very intricate and complex process.
Turnstar is emerging as a progressive local company. Having been given some insight into their mid-term plans for their Game City project, what does the future hold for this company? This is a question we ask Mr. Abdullah.
Look, first of all, Turnstar, we're very proud of our shareholding. We have over 900 individual Botswana shareholders. So it's a wide spectrum of shareholding. And that gives us a broad base of benefit. Historically, Turnstar has also been one of the best performing companies, without a doubt, in terms of dividend payout to our shareholders. But what we are trying to achieve within the next 24 months is, with our expansion in Botswana and our expansion in Tanzania, we want to increase the revenue of Turnstar by 25% in the next 24 months. Now, of course, it's ambitious, but the plans are in place, and I believe we're going to pull it off. The difference between a property company and any other trading company, for example, trading company, you go buy 1 or 2 stores, open 1 or 2 stores, and your expansion is faster. In the property company, when you plan an expansion, it takes 24 months before you see the end result and the benefits. But once the plans are in place, and now we've kick-started, we're very excited about the future of Turnstar. We've got a lot of good things in the pipeline.
We have previously on First Issues questioned the sustainability of the numerous shopping malls we have seen sprouting across the country, bringing in experts to shed some light on who among us has the disposable income to spend in these places, and whether the spending that is going on is indeed responsible.
If you look at the statistics, as at January this year, the total household debt, which is basically your families and individuals, stood at about almost 24 billion pula. And if you look at that figure as a percentage of GDP, it's close to about 20% of GDP. And in previous years, it was far less. I remember about 3 or 4 years ago, it was about 12% of GDP. And therefore, if we are able to reach that rate at this time, you realize that they start need to get worried about the indebtedness levels. And also, if you look at statistics over the previous years, you realize that households are actually now getting more loans than businesses, actually in the past 3 years. And this is a worry because households don't actually involve much in the productive activities, unlike businesses. Business actually get money to borrow. And also, even if you take the segment of household borrowing, you look at property, you look at credit cards, you look at personal loans, all of us we are showing an increase in indebtedness of the households.
Thapelo Theola paints a gloomy picture with regards to sustainable consumer spending. But what are Mr. Abdullah's views on consumer spending in Botswana?
Disposable income is tight. People especially have got a lot of credit already they've taken from banks, from stores, etc. And it's not an easy market, the retail market. People would love to spend, but it's tight. But look, we have a new government in place. Elections are over. They have some wonderful plans. And we hope that we see these plans come through. The key for any economy is employment. And we have so many children coming out of university every year, thousands. Now, the trick is to get them employed. And so, you know, as business people in Botswana, we've been in Botswana The economy has been good for the last 3 decades. Now, if you have a few bad years, you can't just give up hope. This is normal. This is normal in the world economy. So, as business people, we got to be optimistic, keep investing, keep creating employment, and keep the ball turning. And hopefully, if everyone does that with the right frame of mind, the economy should settle and come back on track.
We end this evening's program with Mr. Abdullah's refreshingly positive outlook on the business prospects within Botswana.
What I've noticed both in Botswana and actually even my colleagues in South Africa, we have a mindset that Africa is taboo. Africa is apart from us somehow. And I don't know why this mindset has come. We don't really see ourselves yet as part of Africa, but I see that is changing slowly. But I would encourage all Botswana businesses, please, to take advantage of the Africa market. You know, we've got only 2 million people here. But if you look at the SADC region, you've got 150 million people market. Now, we have the skills, we have good caliber business people in this country, we have the best banking system in Southern Africa, good fiscal policies, etc. We're ready to go out there. They just need to take the mental plunge. And if there's a challenge, face it, you know. And of course, everything's about risk. If you can manage the risk, one should try and go for it. Of course, if risk is not manageable, stay away. But don't just stay away without going out there and trying and attempting to do something. So I would seriously encourage our companies to go out, because that will even encourage us to export our workforce into our own businesses in the various countries. This is a very challenging time for Turnstar, in the sense that after the Game City project and the project in Tanzania is over, Turnstar will just be a company at a different level. And it will be a first truly Pan-African company. And you know, there's huge growth in Africa. And when we go into Africa, we go out as a Botswana company, which is proud to be a Botswana company going out there and doing things. So we're hoping for our shareholders. Our job is to keep our shareholders satisfied, look after their interest, and to try and get them the best returns possible. And I think Turnstar is on track to do that.
From me, Nameto, the team behind First Issues, and our sponsors, First National Bank, we wish you a good night and pleasant viewing.